All right. Waiting for anybody to come on. I believe I'm going live, Facebook Live. Celebrate Recovery Inside. All right. See two people logging on, and I can't quite see who's logging on just yet. So I'm just believing that you're there. And so, excuse me for being a couple minutes late. Still working on the technical side of Facebook Live, but glad to be on now. And hi, Tina, and hi, Nikki, and hi, Susan. Some of my backups that are here local. Appreciate you all. Appreciate my forever family throughout this country. And my name is Danny, and I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ who struggles with alcohol, drugs, and anger. And I appreciate being with you all here on a Monday night. And I got a word of encouragement for you all, but also just want to give everyone an update because I am also the National Director for Celebrate Recovery Inside Prisons. So I got to give a shout out to all of the insiders that are out there. If there are any of you that are going into jails or prisons, you're writing somebody or you're doing correspondence with somebody or you have a loved one that's on the inside, my heart goes out to you. I love you. I appreciate you because people just like you saved my life while I was on the inside. And I also want to invite you. We have some CR Inside state reps that will be on with us tonight and some regional team leads for CR Inside. And if you have any questions at all, or if you have the slightest inkling in your heart that maybe you want to do prison ministry, we would love to help you go to prison. And we have some people on that will answer your questions. If you want to just give a shout out and say, hey, I go into this prison or I go into that jail, let us know who you are, where you are, what prison you serve in. There might be somebody getting on tonight that goes to a Celebrate Recovery or a church near you. And if they find out about your ministry, you might have a new ministry member. So let us know where you're at tonight. And again, welcome to all the insiders. And I also want to give a special welcome to any of you that are newcomers or just getting started in your path of recovery during this pandemic. Man, all of us throughout the country want to give you a big virtual hug right now because you are coming to Christ or you are coming to recovery during one of the most strange periods of our lives. And in the middle of this, God is talking to you and he's touching your heart and you're responding and you're taking the first steps of recovery during this lockdown. So man, I give you the big hug and the big pat on the back because you're reaching out and you are making the God connection in the middle of a pandemic. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the God connection tonight. But first of all, I got to give a shout out to the Celebrate Recovery Summit. And I'm not sure if you can read what that says, but the summit is in 16 days, 14 hours, and 53 minutes. The online virtual summit will begin. So I still want to talk to those of you that are newcomers. You're just beginning your pathway of recovery, man. You want to sign up for the summit this year because it's just for you. We are having the summit. It's going to be worldwide this year. It'll be completely online and there'll be a lot of speakers. There'll be some music. There'll be spoken word poetry. The skit guys will be on there. So we'll laugh, we'll cry together, and we're going to get fed. And God is going to speak to us. We're going to have a God connection in the middle of the summit this year. And there's something that I want to say personally about that. I want to say thank you to Pastor John Baker, Johnny Baker, Marnie, Nikki, and the Celebrate Recovery National team that are putting on the summit this year online because it is going to be a gift from God in the middle of the pandemic. This pandemic did not take God by surprise. He knew that this time was coming and that we would experience this in our lives. And he has designed a gift just for us in the middle of this difficult time. It's going to be the Come Rejoice Celebrate Recovery Summit. You don't want to miss it. You can go to celebraterecovery.com and you can sign up. They'll give you links to sign up and register for the summit. It's just $49. And if you can get 5 people on board with you, you get the 6th person free. And you can have a great time. get fed, and get a great God connection during the 2020 summit. I also wanted to make a mention very quick. If you're a newcomer, you're not quite sure what Celebrate Recovery is all about, or you're not connected in a group quite yet, I want to encourage you to get onto celebraterecovery.com. You can find a local group locator, find a group that's close to you. We have 35,000 or more Celebrate Recovery ministries throughout the United States and around the world. So if you're a newcomer and you're not connected yet, man, find the Celebrate Recovery that's close to you. Connect with them. We're having online groups. We're having virtual step studies are just getting started. We're having virtual open share groups, and some places throughout the country, they're even opening up on campus or at the church meetings in a safe way. Please get connected. This is your time. This is your period to make that God connection. So please sign up for the summit and find a group that's close to you. Get connected and get into healthy relationships that God has for you there. Again, I want to appreciate the Celebrate Recovery Summit that we're having online this year, because it's going to be a time of connecting with God. And I want to read to you a passage out of the Bible from Psalm 139 that talks about this connection that God wants to have with us. It's a very intimate, very close, very personal connection that God has with us. Just let me read it to you. I'm going to read about 18 verses. Out of Psalm 139, verse 1, it says, "O Lord, you search me and you know me. You know when I sit down and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all of my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely, O Lord. You hem me in behind and before. You have laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is really too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast." Verse 11, "If I say, surely darkness will hide me," or surely a pandemic will hide me, "and the light become night around me, even in that darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day. The darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know it full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand." Can you hear the God connection in Psalm 139? Listen to what he says in verse 14. "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." You know, that's one of my favorite verses, and I share it with people. I love to write it in birthday cards because it's the day of their birth, and it says, "I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made." So it kind of, it used to be something I used to think about myself, that God made us this way. He wired us just the way we are, and that's so true. But what I was missing from it for many years is the God connection piece of that, is that he wants me to feel that I'm personally, intimately, fearfully, wonderfully made. It was a miracle. It was an awesome thing that God did when he made us, but he did it together. He did it with a sense of connection with us. That's why he says, "My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in my mother's womb." He's saying I was there. I was personally, intimately part of you there when your body your soul, when the pieces of that make up who you are were being made, God was personally, intimately involved with the whole process. That is a God connection that he wants to have with us. It also says in verse 16, all the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. You know, that idea that all the days ordained for me being written in God's book, it's not just the idea that it's a matter of historical fact, that God is writing historical facts before they come into being. No, he's saying all the days are ordained for me before one of them came to be. And that word ordained means that God has purpose and calling and meaning in every single day of every one of our lives. All the days ordained for me were written in your book. That means that God is personally involved in and connected with every day of our lives. He intends it to have meaning and purpose. And I know, especially during times like this, that there's a lot of people that you might say, these days feel like they're ordained for bad. It feels like, man, if God ordained these kind of days, if God ordained this situation in my life, maybe the physical illness that I'm going through, and especially the hurts, the hang-ups, and the habits that I'm experiencing in my life, how could God ordain days like this? Where is God in the middle of days like this? I am just struggling right now, you might be saying, to just get through this night without using again, or without being abused again. And you might be going through one of the hardest times of your life. And that's what in Celebrate Recovery, we call those things out, and we call them hurts, hang-ups, and habits. There are hurts, hang-ups, and habits in life. In fact, it says in John 10:10 in the Bible, it says that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus said, I have come to give you life, and life more abundantly. Jesus is saying, I want you to experience Psalm 139. And so in Celebrate Recovery, we want to be partners with you in working through the hurts, the hang-ups, and the habits in life. There's one thing about Psalm 139 that's very clear, and that's the God connection part of it. We're all going to go through hard times in our life. Everybody that's on this group thread right here can say, amen, I've been through hard times. And there are a lot of people here that have some really hard testimonies that God has brought them through. But in Celebrate Recovery, we make it a God connection. We don't go through these hard times together. There's one thing about hurts that I personally experience. Hurts will sometimes drive us away from God. God is still there. He hasn't moved. He's still the one that formed you in your mother's womb. He's still the one that was personally there, helping, being personally involved with how you are formed and shaped. And he hasn't moved. It's our hurts, it's our hang-ups and our habits that sometimes cause us to isolate, to turn away from God, to turn away from other people. Sometimes the hurt and the shame and the bad things I feel inside, they drive me from other people, but other people, healthy relationships, and a healthy relationship, especially with God, is the very thing that I need. But because I'm so hurt, I turn away from the God connection. We like to talk about the 8 principles of Celebrate Recovery, and I'm just going to read a couple of them to you, because the 8 principles of Celebrate Recovery are all about the God connection of Psalm 139. Let's read it. Number 1, I realize that I'm not God. I admit that I'm powerless to control my tendency to do the wrong thing, and my life is unmanageable. Step 1 is I realize that I'm not God. I'm not the one that made myself in my mother's womb. It sounds funny, but yet we live our lives as if I'm isolated to myself, that I have to handle these hurts inside of me by turning to the habits. And that's something I always love to say to people. Man, if you've got that much hurt inside of you that you're turning to all kinds of habits and bad relationships and dysfunctional ways of living, man, part of me wants to pat you on the back, because I've been there. I know what it is like to want to just drink myself to not feeling those hurts anymore. And so part of me wants to say, man, I get it. I know why that we step off the cliff knowing it's going to hurt when I hit the bottom, because it already hurts inside. But the last thing that I want to do is continue this pattern, believing that I'm the one that's God. I'm the one that can heal it by turning to my hang-ups or turning to my habits or resulting in all these other methods to handle my pain is just me turning myself away from the God of Psalm 139. It's me turning myself away from the God connection. Look at principle number 2 in Celebrate Recovery. Earnestly believe that God exists, that I matter to him, and that he has the power to help me recover from that feeling that I was just describing, that the days ordained for me are meaningless. There's too much pain, there's too much struggle. But it says here that I matter to him and he has the power to help me recover. That's being restored to the God connection. By the way, these principles from Celebrate Recovery, if you're a newcomer, they come right out of the Bible. So principle number 2 is based on the Beatitude from Matthew 5:4 that says, happy are those who mourn, for they shall be what? They shall be comforted. That's a God connection. Those that are struggling, those that are going through the hardest times of your life, God says, I want to comfort you. I want to be in that connected place with you that we read about in Psalm 139. Where can I go from your presence, God? Even the darkness will be light to you. You are able to take the worst times of my life and make them times of light and connection with you. Look at principle number 3, and I'll stop there. Consciously choose to commit all my life and will to Christ's care and control. There it is, the God connection. God has provided a way for us to be healed. If you are new to Celebrate Recovery, every single one of the 8 principles in Celebrate Recovery are all about the God connection. They're all about the same God who loved you in your mother's womb enough to create you and make for you the one that he wants to love. You know, Pastor Rick Warren here at Saddleback Church, he loves to say, he says it like this: there may be accidental parents in the world, but there are no accidental babies. God has intended and purposed your life and has ordained every day of your life. Maybe your parents had no clue that you would be born. Maybe your parents had no intention that they would ever have a child. They may be accidental parents, but there are no accidental children. God has ordained every single baby being born, and he has ordained you. He has created you, and he wants and desires that personal connection with you. I love to talk about this in the concept that Celebrate Recovery is a tool that God has given us to restore that sense of God connection in our life. That's why we call it hurts, hang-ups, and habits, because we're aware we've experienced the disconnection with God through those hurts, hang-ups, and habits. And so Celebrate Recovery is a tool that God has given us to restore us and connect us back to the God of Psalm 139. You know, here in this pandemic in the year 2020, that passage in Psalm 139:16 applies directly to today. This pandemic did not take God by surprise. All the days ordained for me were written in his book before one of them ever came to be. You know, you can put your name right in there. I can say it like this: all the days ordained for Danny were written in your book before one of them came to be. And that's this very day, July 13th, 2020. And this time period of our lives during the pandemic, where for some of you, it may be one of the most difficult times that you and your family are going through. And you might still be pulling your hair out. How am I going to deal with the struggles that I've experienced during this time? But this time, this period, this pandemic, this time of darkness did not take God by surprise. He already has ordained these days to be a time and a period where you can reconnect with him. Find the God connection of Psalm 139. We just read it, that even in the darkest days, you are there. Even when to me, everything seems dark, to God, it's just as light as the normal light of day. So this time, this period, this pandemic didn't take God by surprise. He still has an ordained God connection path for you for every single day of your life. And I hope, it's my prayer that today you will hear out of the words of Psalm 139 the same heart of God that wove you together in your mother's womb, who was personally connected with you, wanting to enjoy you and personally have relationship with you, is the same God today. And we want to be part of this journey with you. Celebrate Recovery, the secret sauce of Celebrate Recovery is healthy relationships. I've had enough of unhealthy relationships in my addiction. My closest friends were dope fiends, and I couldn't turn my back on them. But God has been the same God that loved me from the day of my birth. And He desires for us to be together, to join together, to find the God connection together and Celebrate Recovery. If you're a newcomer, or even if you've been in Celebrate Recovery for over half of your life, and you've been a group leader, you've been helping and serving and reaching out to others, don't let this pandemic, don't let the discouragements of this time in our life keep you from experiencing the God connection in your life as well. Because it doesn't matter if I'm collecting the blue chip or if I'm collecting for me, the 38-year chip. Wherever I started, wherever I'm at, the same God still wants to have that God connection with me. And I never get over my need for God. And I never get over my need for my brothers, my forever family in Celebrate Recovery, because we experience the God connection with each other. We share with each other our experience, strengths, and hopes, and we experience God together and Celebrate Recovery. And I love to say this to people. You don't have to go through the struggles of your life alone. There's going to be hard times. There's going to be difficult times. It might be hard just this very night from giving in to the cravings and falling back into the same habits that covered up the hang-ups and the hurts in your life. But you don't have to go through the cravings. You don't have to go through the hurts that you're experiencing in this life. You don't have to go through them alone. Reach out to us on the chat. Let us know what your prayer requests are. We have leaders from Celebrate Recovery that will reach out to you. And if you're a longtime leader of Celebrate Recovery and you heard the message about online step groups, you're discouraged because it's just been too long. Our step groups have been put on hold. We haven't been able to meet together, and the national team has given us a model for starting online step studies. You can go to celebraterecovery.com. And I just saw it earlier today. There's a description for how you can start your step studies that you were doing before. You can start them up and continue the connection with your forever family. If you have questions about that, you can leave them in the chat. Please reach out to your state reps if you need help with your online groups. That's what we're here for you. And remember, we're all part of the God connection together. We want to be part of that with you. So I'm going to sign off for tonight. Thanks for coming on here on a Monday night on the Facebook Live for Celebrate Recovery. I hope you'll sign up for the summit because it's going to be a God connection for all of us. God bless you all.